At 3:47 a.m. Eastern Time, over 40,000 American troops received deployment orders. Aircraft carriers rushed back to sea. Bases across the Middle East shifted to DEFCON 2. In Tehran, air raid sirens echoed for the first time since 1988. The question is no longer if, but how far will this go? For decades, U.S.-Iran tensions simmered through proxy wars, sanctions, and near misses. But this moment feels different, larger, sharper, more dangerous. I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm here to break down the facts and context, because the next 48 to 72 hours could shape the course of this century. How we got to the brink? Let's cut through the noise and establish the timeline of how things escalated this fast. January 2026. Intelligence reports confirmed that Iran had enriched enough uranium to weapons-grade levels for approximately 3 nuclear devices. This wasn't speculation anymore. Satellite imagery showed activity at Fordow, their underground enrichment facility that matched the signatures of final-stage weapons development. February 2026. A commercial cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz was struck by what appeared to be a sophisticated drone attack. "15 crew members died. Iran denied involvement, but the drone's components traced back to Iranian military contractors. The Strait of Hormuz, remember, is the choke point through which 21% of the world's petroleum passes. An attack there isn't just regional, it's global." Early March 2026. This is where things accelerated rapidly. A covert Israeli operation, widely believed to have U.S. intelligence support, destroyed a facility outside Tehran. Iran claimed it was a civilian research center. Western intelligence confirmed it was housing centrifuges and weapons scientists. The explosion was visible from space. March 15th, 2026. Iran's supreme leader delivered a televised address calling the attack an act of war that will be answered with fire and fury. Within hours, Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen launched coordinated attacks on U.S. bases. Not probing attacks, not harassment. Full-scale assaults with sophisticated weaponry. March 18th, 2026. The U.S. responded by deploying the largest military force to the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq invasion. We're talking about 2 carrier strike groups, USS Gerald R. Ford and USS Theodore Roosevelt. Over 40,000 ground troops, B-2 Spirit stealth bombers repositioned to Diego Garcia. Patriot missile batteries throughout the Gulf states. Cyber warfare units activated. Strategic bombers on 24-hour alert status. That's not posturing. That's preparation for major combat operations. March 20th, 2026, 2 days ago. An Iranian missile struck an American base in eastern Syria. The casualty count is still classified. But multiple sources confirm deaths. Not injuries, deaths. American service members killed by Iranian weapons on what Iran claims was a retaliatory strike. And now, we're here, waiting to see if the next move leads to de-escalation or devastation. Why this time feels different? I know what you're thinking. Haven't we been here before? Hasn't the US and Iran been on the brink multiple times? Yes. Absolutely, yes. But let me explain why military analysts, historians, and intelligence experts are genuinely concerned this time is different. First, the nuclear factor. Iran has never been this close to a functional nuclear weapon. Every previous crisis occurred when the nuclear program was theoretical or years away. Now it's measured in weeks or months. This creates what's called a use it or lose it dynamic. The US and Israel know that if they don't act now, they may face a nuclear-armed Iran. Iran knows that the window to complete their program is closing fast. Both sides have incentives to move quickly rather than negotiate slowly. History shows us that nothing accelerates war faster than a ticking clock. Second, the alliance structure. This isn't just US versus Iran. The regional alliances have hardened into opposing blocs in ways that eerily mirror 1914 Europe. You've got, on one side, the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and increasingly, several European NATO members who've quietly moved assets into position. On the other side, Iran, various Shia militias across the region, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthi rebels in Yemen, and, here's the big one, growing support from Russia and China. Russia has defense agreements with Iran. China gets nearly 25% of its oil from Iran and has invested billions in Iranian infrastructure. If this conflict expands, it won't stay regional. The great powers are already choosing sides. What the experts are saying? Let's hear from the people who actually understand modern warfare and international relations, because their assessments should terrify you. General Michael Anderson, REIT 2, former CENTCOM commander, the force deployment we're seeing isn't defensive posturing. This is an offensive package. You don't send 2 carrier groups, strategic bombers, and this many ground troops unless you're preparing for large-scale operations. The question isn't if there's a military plan. There definitely is. The question is whether political leadership will authorize execution. Dr. Sarah Chen, nuclear proliferation expert at MIT. We're in the most dangerous moment of nuclear brinkmanship since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Iran knows that if shooting starts, their nuclear facilities will be primary targets. They may calculate that their best option is to rush completion or even conduct a demonstration detonation to establish deterrence. That would fundamentally change everything. Ambassador Richard Haass, President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations, the accidental war scenario keeps me up at night. Neither side may want full-scale war, but we've created conditions where a miscalculation, a rogue commander, or a technical malfunction could trigger escalation that neither capital can control. That's how World War I started, not because anyone wanted it, but because the mechanisms of war overwhelmed the mechanisms of diplomacy. Colonel Dmitry Volkov, Russian military analyst. If the US strikes Iran directly, Russia will have to respond in some fashion to maintain credibility with our allies. That response may not be direct military confrontation, but it will escalate tensions globally. We're looking at potential cyber attacks on Western infrastructure, increased military pressure on NATO's eastern border, and deeper military cooperation with Iran. This crisis won't stay contained to the Middle East. These aren't talking heads trying to get clicks. These are serious professionals with decades of experience, and they're using words like unprecedented, critical, and extremely dangerous. The next 48 to 72 hours are critical. Watch for direct clashes between US and Iranian forces, signals from Russia and China, emergency UN Security Council meetings, shifts in diplomatic channels, and oil prices, especially around the Strait of Hormuz. This situation is fluid and changing fast. Let's hope for de-escalation, but prepare for anything.